Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson. Palpable paradox.
How's the rain?
I'm good. How are you, Chris?
You know, pretty decent. I like living, and that's a joy to me. So every day I wake up and I'm doing that. Not so bad. Not so bad. Could be worse.
That's an almost like impossibly like I don't even know the right way to say it, but like you made it so that it couldn't be anything but positive with that kind of framework, you know?
Did I just break the did I break it? Did I break the code? Yeah.
Hey man, every day I'm alive is a good day.
That's right. I didn't wake up dead, so there's that.
Well, I think like it's not so much the statement itself as much as it is like what it implies, which is that there's still opportunities and chances and things for growth and change and whatever. So it's like, even if things are good, the reason that like you can look to the future with optimism is because you know that they can be different, which for anybody who appreciates progressivism in any kind, politically or not, it's like change is actually a good thing. And speaking of politics, like today's election day, it's like that is something that I wish political debates and conversations and like how elections were ran were way more conversational and like philosophical and like transparent and not so like attacking and like what I'm gonna do is better. Like I wish that it was never you have to pick between the lesser of two evils, and it's like, these are both pretty cool like people, and actually they are like friends and they respect each other, and it's like they're just you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
When was the last time something like that happened? I don't know that it really ever has in this country, but it's like I would love to, you know, if I ever like ran for office, presidential or lesser or whatever, like I would hope that the person I was running against was somebody that I didn't feel like I had to challenge, or else like the fate of humanity was in shit hands. That it was just like, I think I could be a better leader than you because of this and this and this, but I don't think we're doomed if you're in office.
Yeah, well, what a wonderful world that would be if we did have conversations instead of yelling and talking at people and throwing, you know, but I think you're onto something there, right? Because I think that it would just take one candidate, right, that actually got into the nomination, and you know, my candidate is Bernie. I've been a Bernie bro of sorts. I mean, I hate the term Bernie bro because it gets a negative connotation, but you see a guy like that. This is the reason why I got so hard and hot in the seat for that guy. Even though he's a white older dude, it's been in politics.
He's so radical in like a good way, though.
Right. He genuinely has tried to sidestep a lot of that bashing. A lot of that thing. He on you know, on some level, I think that it's kind of, you know, you get shifted into it, and the other candidates get so dirty at some point you kind of have to fire back on people, and I get that. So I don't, you know, he's not perfect by any means, but in an ideal scenario, we would have a couple of really, really high quality candidates. Like none of the candidates that we've seen, in my opinion, other than Bernie and a few of the others. Like, I mean, I can't remember everybody's names, but there was I think Andrew Yang and a few different people that were they're progressive minded, that are interested in seeing humanity move forward in a way
they're
that
like intellectuals, and regardless of if you agree with their like methodology, they're at least graceful people.
Right.
And the other thing, like you were saying, like, yeah, so like Bernie's not perfect because like maybe he's had to fire back a few times and stuff, but it's also like circumstantially, like the good people get cornered, you know, and it's like,
Right.
and we are all human at the end of the day, and I like to look at it as like, what are these people's intentions and what would they do if we were in the ideal situation, you know? And I think that a person like Trump would still be a piece of shit.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
like even
100%.
if every single other person was just like an angel, like he's just, and that to me is like, there's your answer. It's like, what would this, you know, is this person, like there's so many people that make excuses for that kind of behavior. And I do understand being like, well, it was this time period, this was the culture, this is what was going on, these were the specific details of that situation. And yeah, so you're right, like don't take that one quote where that person said like fuck you, you stupid bitch, get out of my face, and then be like, this person's super sexist because they said stupid bitch, and like maybe it was because of the event that was going on, you know.
Correct. Yeah.
But to me it's like, this man, and I don't like Biden either,
No, I don't either.
but oh my god, like this guy has an insane amount of audacity to do anything and everything that is like, here's how I put it to Lydia last night. We're talking about it and she was like, I don't even understand how people like this guy. And I was like, yeah, I feel you. It's like watching like a Law and Order episode, and the person in question that like these detectives are after is like clearly like maybe this person is like it's like a special victims unit. It's like about a rape case and the person got strangled to death or whatever. And it's like clearly this person is like a sociopath who like hates women or hates little boys or whatever, you know? And it's like, that is the person that is in office, is like, that is the kind of person that is the leader of the most powerful nation in the world, you know? It's like,
Right.
that's wild to me.
It is very wild, but I will say that it's strangely suiting. It's strangely we're strangely suited for it in a few different ways, right? And I think
Right.
because we have so much like anti-intellectualism that has come about, and he has helped that. His office and other pundits have helped that along to kind of disenfranchise or you know, like discredit scientists and the scientific and the rational world. But because it's and it's a very methodical thing. I feel like I feel like that there's a thing where okay, like we find a couple of cherry picking moments where the left has done some crazy shit, and or it was set up to be framed like we get some left acting people to do some crazy shit, and then we go, look, then the right gets to go, look, the left is crazy and they're doing this.
Yeah.
And so we're the right ones. We're the smart ones. We don't.
Because we're like calm, and like, to me, that's like gaslighting a person who's like, that would be like a white privileged person gaslighting a black person for being reactionary and pissed off.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. And so to go back though to the ideal candidate, the ideal representative would be calm, centered, and boundaried, right? Boundaried in a way that is, you know, to use your last name, stern a bit, right? Like a stoic, so to speak, right? Someone that is like, okay, buddy. Like Barack Obama is a very good example of kind of what we're looking for, or like what, you know, he's measured and all this stuff. Now, the sad thing about Barack is that he didn't really have the chance to do a lot of the things that I think that he probably would have done had there been more support from Congress and the Senate and all this stuff. But and I think that, you know, as like Bill Hicks and a lot of other people have pointed out, I think when you get that job, I think you're pulled into a back room and you're shown a certain amount of stuff that nobody else knows, and you're like, and they're like, all right, talk shit, and you get JFK'd. All right, just so you know, just so you know. And so you're gonna follow a certain amount of this stuff. You step out of line a little too far, you know, maybe your head doesn't make it to the next meeting, you know.
And that's why somebody like Trump, like, they don't even need to pull him into the back room. Like, he is the back room. You know what I mean? It's like he's one of those business people that's been in the back room, because the real people who are in power it's not just one person, it's a group of people that are super wealthy. It's like the corporate leaders, you know. It's the like business investors who just play the buying this stock and selling that, and now I'm super rich and I get to sit at the table of leaders and like buy opinions and you know. It's like I think a lot of people know this but fail to remember it in conversations like this, where it's like you can't even blame Trump for everything that's going on, because there's a whole team of people that helped him get to where he is.
Right.
So,
and you're speaking towards that corporatocracy, like that element of like, we've got such big money and so much dark money in politics that
dark money,
you know, I mean, they found so many different ways to funnel money into these campaigns. And even with it being the stuff that is accredited, like you can look back and you can see who's contributed, and you're like, okay, so that's going to tell you how the policy is going to work out, is these people have contributed to their campaign, so they're going to get favoritism. That's just the way it is. They're going to get the regulations rolled back on their particular area of business. So you've got all the big pharma, you've got big oil, you know, goes down the line. So, you know, it's sad, because like that might be one of the big key things that needs to be done in coming years. Is, I mean, obviously, I think it's one of the focal points is trying to defund politics. If we could defund, you know, the defunding of the police thing is like a whole nother thing. And it's a weird term to use, because I think it's the wrong term. I almost think it was purposely chosen as the wrong term.
Almost to like, to create it by specific word choice that has, like, when you have a definition versus connotation problem, you know, and people's like, if you're going to talk about something that huge, you need to be so like specific about your word choice and very clear about what that means. And I do see what you mean. Like, I completely would not even be remotely surprised if like the confusion behind it was intentional.
Yeah, it's almost like the police or somebody on the right was like, I get it. We'll feed them this line. We'll make hashtag defund the police.
Yeah.
Like trend. Yeah. And then we can laugh at them when we demolish that statement by saying, if you defund the police, then who's going to protect you? Who are you going to call? Blah, 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 all this thing, you know.
Ghostbusters.
Right. I mean, you know.
Who are you going to call?
We need some aspect of that now. I mean,
sorry, I'm still in the Halloween spirit.
It's okay.
I love Halloween. It's like, have you know the band Oingo Boingo?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. When I was like tiny, I had this karaoke machine, a like CD player, and it had like 2 big speakers, and it was like basically as big as me at the time. And I would like put the Oingo Boingo CD in there and like pretend like I had this vision of this guy, this like kind of like beautiful androgynous, very like very high cheekbones dude that like was super pale, and he was like a vampire, and he was like singing all the songs like all suave, and like this like I just child's imagination still very much so have it, but like whenever I listen to those songs I just like go into this other world where like goblins and witches and fairies exist. Like I love Renaissance fairs, like when everybody's dressed up and you just kind of like lose yourself. Like I love fantasy. I wish magic was real so bad every day.
Well, I mean, magic, some say it is.
Yeah.
I still hold out hope that there is some aspect of real magic other than our thing. Hey, but Danny Elfman, let's say genius, right? Danny Elfman is the man behind Oingo and Boingo. He's behind all the, Nightmare Before Christmas and The Simpsons and all that stuff. And he's got new stuff brewing. And my good friend Neely Brosh was chosen as his latest guitar player.
Oh, very cool.
So she's in on it. She's actually, it was right before the pandemic hit. I was living in LA and she was coming to stay at my place a couple nights while she was rehearsing, and she couldn't tell anybody that Danny Elfman had tapped her to be in these sessions. And we were just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So she's like practicing at my house, like learning these songs. And then she was supposed to go to Coachella, and that was supposed to be the big announcement. And then none of that happened. And so she's been sitting on it for days. And just like a week or so ago, Danny started posting pictures from the studio with Neely and like the whole band and everything. And then he released a new song. And but yeah, what a treasure Danny is.
Yeah.
And that band Oingo Boingo. I can imagine Little Raine doing the dance.
It's like just like
so cool.
There's like a mixture of like dancing and like acting out all this like dramatic, like it's what's that one movie, like Beetlejuice, like that kind of stuff. Like I love like creepy but simultaneously lighthearted kind of like genres,
kind of dark comedy.
I love stuff like that.
Same.
It's very much so like a true artist's like escapism.
I think there's something really relevant about dark comedy and the state of current, like the trend in current stand-up comedy that is that, right? Where it's like this, it's the embracing of the ever-present paradox of like things are not all good, but things are not all bad. And if I can enlighten you and get you to giggle at something you almost cringe at giggling at, then we've created a spot where the light can enter in a weird way, right? Like it's like there's a thing that happens. And like I personally, I think Dave Chappelle is the king.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna just say it. Like I think Dave, I mean, he gets all the accolade anyway, but like I keep going back and stuff keeps popping up in my YouTube, like little clips and stuff, because I've watched enough and now it keeps popping up, and I'm like, every clip that even if I've seen it, I'm just like, yep, he's the boss. Like he wins. He gets the thing, and he's kind of his thing is, Bill Burr is another good one. There's a lot of great guys out there and gals too doing great comedy right now. But
I totally agree with you on that. He's like, I recently watched his I liked him before this for sure, but there's a few fresh Dave Chappelle things in my head because of his interview that he did with David Letterman.
Ooh, that was good.
Did you watch that? Yeah.
That was really good.
There's a couple things like it came to my attention that he's like a somewhat unintentional like political activist in a way, where it's like, are his jokes and his messages unintentional? Definitely not. Like he's very intelligent and very like, you have to be very planned out and like what I love about comedy, just sidestepping real quick, is that it's like you have to think about everything on so many layers to be a really good comedian and effectively convey something and like get to the point where you're actually like, it's like real art and you're like actually changing people. And I really think that really good comedy is like music in that way. Like it really is.
For sure.
But yeah, Dave also said something that I really loved that was basically, I don't know if this is verbatim or not, but the more of a celebrity you try to be for the world, the less of yourself you truly own.
Mm.
And it was like, you can want to be famous so that you can do something for a lot of people in a short period of time that matters. But wanting to be a celebrity is kind of inherently rejecting you and who you are, because it's immediately labeling and putting you in a box. And also, like, the second you put someone on a pedestal, I actually think their authentic, like, relatability, believability, like, effectiveness is diminished. And so I want to be a person that a lot of people know, but that they look to more like your neighbor next door.
Mm.
You know?
I remember that part of the conversation, and I remember, I don't remember it verbatim either, but I remember something about Dave saying, look, I like being famous.
Yeah.
Famous is good. I don't like I'm not a celebrity. I'm not into being a celebrity, right? Because the celebrity, it has with it the red carpet walks and the posing and the this and the that. And he's like, I just opt out. I don't go to award shows. I don't do these things. Like, I just do my thing. And he lives in the area. He talks all about where he lives, and they're at his estate. And I love that Letterman had to kind of like, hey, well, clarify that for us, you know? You're like, what do you mean celebrity, or isn't that the same thing almost? But it's not, right? Like, the famous part of it becomes like, as you're describing it, because having the notoriety allows you to have a platform to speak from, to act from, to affect change in the world, potentially, right? The celebrity part of it is vapid. It's innately kind of devoid of substance, because it's really just about snapshots and like and headlines, right?
TMZ.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So there's a big difference there, and it's and Dave just always has a way of speaking so clearly from his own personal experience, and I think that's the thing I trust about him, right? Is like, or anyone that is able to speak from that place, whether they're known or unknown. I'm so happy to hear somebody speak from their own experience and say, well, I can't tell you how this is going to work out. I can't give you any real, like, anything other than what's happening here in this particular happening, this particular body, this particular life. I'm seeing and feeling and hearing these things. Maybe some of that's of use to you,
Exactly. Like, not claiming so much authority to the point of like misguiding people, because it's like, the second that you have too much arrogance and too much certainty about what every experience or what everything really is and what it means for everyone, it's just like the second that one person tries to be something for 7 billion plus people, then you can't really effectively be anything for anyone, because it's like you have to be willing to acknowledge publicly, humbly, like, your own mortality and everything that comes with that, and the fact that you don't know shit. Like, I feel like, exactly, like, I totally agree with you. I trust people that are curious and love, like, learning things and, like, want to tell other people about those things, but are totally willing to be like, are you sure that's true? And then them going, I think, well, now let me think about that. You know what? Let's look it up.
Yeah. You said a few things there that are, I mean, being curious, right? Like, I think that's it's overlooked a lot, because and this age of the TMZ headlines and the shock headlines for fake news, or whatever, that this rush to report something, to incite some sort of reaction from some segment of the population is, again, it's so vapid. It's like, it's so short-sighted, and it's not being curious. It's not being curious about, like, okay, so just because I can do this doesn't mean I should.
Right.
And if I do feel like I should do it, is it going to help? Am I being a force for, helping? Am I being positive? And it doesn't mean that every last thing has to be positive. You can report on a bunch of negative things in a way that is moving the story forward, because it's truth, because it's like trying to give it in a way that is not empirical, but to the point, of that person's perspective, and that perspective, or that point of view, right, from the context of where it's being reported from. And I think that's kind of the thing, right? Like, I think you also mentioned multiple times, like, context is so much. Context, and when you remove context and you remove the ability to know what a person is responding to, but you just get the soundbite of them kind of flying off the handle for a moment,
right,
it's probably, oftentimes that stuff is warranted, because people have to set boundaries and people get frustrated, and it's okay to be human and have those things happen. But we don't let it, a lot of times we don't let people be fully themselves, because we want to put them into the box. We want to explain it away. And I think at the long range of that kind of thought process that you have, that's where we're at with the Trumpers, right? Okay, let's just put it this way. Like, okay, so it's very similar. The reason, part of why it's the right wing is so connected to God, right? In the modern kind of like cracker box Christianity, is because both Christianity and the way that Trump wants to rule is through, now I've got that figured out, here's the answer. And so then everybody goes and parrots the answer, and it's just a thing. They don't think for themselves, right? They go, oh, I don't need to think about that anymore, because I already had somebody on TV tell me the answer. I'm good. Yeah. And instead of like stopping and having that critical thought process for even 5 or 10 minutes and go, is that really real? Do those people really want to harm me? Or maybe that's just a thing for them to get the control,
A true leader. I love everything that you were bringing up. It made me think so many things. A true leader isn't somebody who just says, here, take this as fact. A true leader is somebody who's like, this is how I did this for me. Let me give you tools so that you can make your own that works for you. Like, a true leader wants people, doesn't tell everybody to look outward at everything and like point fingers and try to, well, maybe if we paint the building this color, it'll fix everything. It's more like, look inside first. And I don't see a lot of presidents, or really any, at least maybe I should do more research, but thus far leading the masses to look inside of themselves. And like another thing that what you were saying made me think of was the fact that even looking to one person for the answers, like looking at somebody like they are God, is still like objectification. Like, you might just look at somebody and be like, look at that piece of booty, and it's like, that's also objectification. But also looking at somebody like they are this thing that can save you, or that can protect you, or that can give you what you want, like, is also just fruitless at the end of the day. And that's why it's like, being a flawed person is, I'm not going to say necessarily the thing we need, but it's like, kind of in a way, yeah, it's like we need somebody who's like, I am a person, and the reason I am a good leader is because I know that I'm a flawed person, and I can still love myself, and I want you and you and you and everybody I agree with and disagree with to love themselves. Because ultimately, the more that you actually care about your own health, the more you start to say, what is it in my life and in this world that is unhealthy, that's making me unhealthy? And then that's when you go, like, well, the better air I breathe into my lungs, the healthier my cardiovascular system is. Well, how do I breathe better air? Well, I got to take better care of the planet so that the air on this planet is better. And so it's like when you get people to like actually look here, then they look outwardly with more patience, more like real curiosity, rather than just looking for like the next fix and the next quick answer, which is a huge part of the problem in our society today, is like things like TikTok and Instagram and social media paired with a person like Donald Trump is just creating this insane amount of impatience. And it's like, well, if a person like Donald Trump could be elected president, both for people who don't support him and for people who do support him, then anything could be real. And then nobody questions enough. Not nobody. I don't want to draw too big of a blanket statement, but not enough people are questioning things and questioning themselves. Listen, if every single time people actually had an emotional response to something, like I even have to sit down and like think about my disdain for certain like leaders and for certain groups of people and for certain like ways of life and stuff like that, and say, what is that doing for me? And how could that potentially, I think if you ask yourself, how could anything and everything I think and feel potentially do good and do harm? And if the conclusion you come to is, well, actually, the way I feel and think about this, I don't really think could do harm, then maybe you're onto something, but you should ask yourself that question anyways. And not just,
really onto something there. I a couple things. That last piece there is great because always, I love it when the advice that has been given to me a few different times from different sources is that somebody comes and says something good about you and says, hey, you're so amazing, da 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 da, and they go off. Or they come to you and say, man, you're so horrible, and this is why. Both need to be taken with a grain of salt, right?
Right.
Because on one hand, you have somebody that is giving you compliments, and that seems like on the surface like, oh, well, this is a positive thing, I should be able to learn how to take this. But a lot of times when it's coming from somebody that isn't grounded and solid in themselves, that compliment is about themselves. It's about them connecting themselves to you.
Yes.
Right. And saying, you're amazing and you're my friend.
And you make me feel a certain way.
Right. And then on the other side, so take it with a grain of salt. Like maybe what they're saying, that maybe there's usually some truth in everything that people say. There's usually a speck. And even in the most harsh, rebuttals or comments or criticisms, that can be tough because we want to respond and react to the thing. Well, I'm not the whatever they said. But if our first instinct is to say, I wonder about what they're saying or how they're feeling could be true. What is it that I could be doing or saying that might be affecting them actually in that way? That's an interesting thing to consider and to ponder. Right. So being curious about our effect on the world, man, that's the type of curiosity that we need to like encourage. Right. And then going back to the type of leader, that we would like to see. I think for me, what I hear you saying, and I hear myself wanting to say is, I need somebody with actual genuine humility, out there that says, oh, you know what? I was wrong about that. I got new information, and here's how we're going to move forward. And when we get new information that makes that information obsolete, we will then again shift course, because we're not set. We don't have to stay in the course that we set. We need to look at things in a way that is it's always going to be changing. It's always going to be formulating it's going to be presenting something new. And so it's in our best interest to make friends with change and not try to make it great again in all this crap, right? Like, because a lot of what we have been sold, or what maybe even Trumpers or right wing, or even people in the middle and on the left have been sold, is like, hey, things need to be a certain way. This is the norm. And so we need to always try to maintain this particular thing. Yep. And that's not necessarily true either from the left perspective. Like, things, if we're going to be progressive, because life is progressive, things always progress, whether we like it or not. You said it with mortality, facing your mortality. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, you get to die too someday.
The only thing that is constant is change, and that is such a beautiful statement that is so true. Like, it, and kind of what you're saying is, like, if we had a leader that utilized the scientific method, and it's like, this is something else I was thinking about this morning. It's crazy and kind of like coming from a dark humor kind of standpoint, funny to me, how many people love the new technology that we have, and they love the new advancements, and they love modern medicine, and they love all these things, but they really have a problem when it comes to including people of color and women in those decisions and stuff like that. And I'm like, that is a huge part of why we have these things that you enjoy. And you don't get to say, I love this artist, but I hate that they're gay. It's like, well, maybe the fact that they are a queer person is a huge part of the emotional quality that's being put into their music that you enjoy, and it's like, people, especially, this is something that I see a lot in religions, is that people pick and choose whatever works for them. And it's so selfish, and it's not. That's why humility, I really do feel like, is the answer, because if you're curious and you have this love for learning, that is so huge. Then if you are skeptical of yourself, and you question yourself, and you lead by example to help other people question themselves, and then together you question the group, then you're able to come to conclusions that feel more right. And then you always have to be, like you just said, able and willing to relinquish this notion of right to begin with, and always willing to be like, hey, that's why instead of just giving you the food, I'm going to teach you how to harvest it for yourself. And I'm going to give you tools that can help you to make other better tools for when we approach a new problem that we need to be able to tackle at that time. And I feel like a lot of what people are missing is resilience, and this ability to this courageousness to take on the next new thing. Like, fear just grips so many masses of people and keeps them and locks them in this box of familiarity. And I think the word again, especially in a political context, is just inherently dangerous. It's like, why would we want to do anything exactly the same? Like, there's beauty in, you don't say to yourself, well, penicillin does not cure Alzheimer's, but you know what? I really liked that decade, so let's do that again. And that's just kind of what this feels like. This whole, let's make America great again. It's like, America is great, but has always had problems. Why don't we say, let's make America better, And because one is a mindset of control. It's kind of like my girlfriend Lydia's grew up in a very, very Catholic environment, where when she was like 8 years old, she had to go into a room with some adult person that she didn't know and tell this guy like everything that she could remember that she ever did wrong. And she was terrified, sitting in her room, like writing in a notebook every single thing that she did that was a sin that could send her to hell, thinking to myself, what if I forgot one thing? And then even though I tried to repent, I couldn't. And it's like that, what an ingenious way of controlling people. It's like, well, we won't have to create an army to keep the people down. We will just make them turn the sword in on themselves. And as so long as they're focused on their own self-hatred, they'll be too weak to be able to question or do anything else.
You're hitting it right on the head. And I think that's where we're at as a society for the most part, right? Like, I mean, I think that you have so many, broken homes, stepdad, stepmoms, people that aren't, and it's just a cascading effect. Your mom and dad didn't do the thing for you because it wasn't done for them, and it wasn't done for them, and it wasn't done for, the parents and grandparents. And
Hurt people.
Correct. And so being curious about how your effect is on the world, oftentimes it leads you to some sort of talk therapy at some point in your life. Like you got to do it a little bit here and there. I did 5 years straight, and then I still supplement, and finding meditation, finding stillness for me has been monstrous, like in the best of ways. I can't speak to learning to value space and stillness enough. I can't in my practice of yoga and meditation, I just you like until you start to slow down and feel the simple vibration of one's own personal existence and tune into that subtle quality, and then continue to follow down the kind of the rabbit hole, so to speak, to your eventuality, to your mortality, to like, oh, well, this, I know this won't always be this way.
Yeah.
Like I know that, but I continue to live in a way that thinks that I'm going to live, I've been sold on an idea that I'm going to live forever on some level, like that not to worry about that eventuality, but to live only for this time, which, like there's a push and pull there, right? There's like a live for today, like live like it's your last day. Like, well, then you would throw so much abandon that you would wreck your life, right? If you truly lived to the extent of that notion. And then if you're always, hey, be careful, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So save all your money, and like, retirement's going to be, then you're doing the other thing. They're both extremes, right? Yeah. And we're not taught in school how to balance a checkbook. Like what?
Oh my gosh.
Like what? Like, I'm going to say it again. What? Like,
don't even get me started on like,
really fucking want me to live a good life, or are you just trying to throw me out there and watch me get matched into the gears? Because that's what it feels like,
It
just saying.
Woo, Chris. If I could tell you, like, the number of times that I've been like, it blows my mind that like these things are not like requirements in education. Like, what? And like that being one of them. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And another one being like rational logic, critical thinking skills. There's a lot of people who don't actually know how to tell when somebody is intentionally or unintentionally gaslighting, being fallacious, just how to be able to really actually think for themselves and not discard. It's not like sentences are not void of mathematical reasoning, you know? It's like everything is math, and that doesn't make it cold. Like that's a huge part of our culture, is this like science is cold and devoid of emotion. It's like absolutely not. Like very much so far from the truth. Scientists want things to be better. That is out of like pure passion and like a fire that got lit inside of them, a drive to always seek the betterment of something. And like maybe they picked this one thing to figure out, but like that is exactly why we live in the technologically advanced age that we live in. And we have some of these beautiful, like our ability to have this conversation with each other from across the country is astounding and so worth celebrating. And I just feel like if we focused our attention as a society on this, like, how can we continue to evolve and advance, but with this fundamental understanding of longevity. And the way that I totally, but like I can't have had some of the experiences I've had, especially through art, and not be a spiritual person. I just can't. But regardless of what you know, beliefs you ascribe to or what you were taught, I think we can all live a balanced, healthy act, kind of keep that in mind with this notion of, well, maybe it will just be lights out when I'm gone. Maybe it won't. But whether or not I can say with certainty that it will or will not, I should still live as though I live on for eternity through whatever it was that I left behind. And that, I think, is like the thing that makes me want to, even when I have days and moments, which I do, where I'm like, God damn, like a meteor just end this, like just strike us and just get, you know what I mean? Just like,
sure.
But the thing that makes me like, that overpowers that every time is this feeling of, it's not about me, but it does feel so good thinking that I reached out to a friend who was super depressed and was like, hey, I'm not going to bullshit you and like not tell you about the good day I had because I know you're sad. Like, I'm going to be real with you and I'm going to be here for you. And I'm going to tell you about my experience and like what got me through it. And I'm going to always remind you to forgive yourself and to not take ownership of every single thought that you have, good and bad, you know, like you are not everything that you experience and everything that you think and even everything that you feel. Like you are a culmination of all of these other things. And at the end of the day, you are also this like beautiful, innocent baby that was born before any of that happened, you know? And it's like, and then I think to myself, I actually cared for somebody. And even if I died tomorrow, that could forever change the trajectory of their life. And maybe human beings do make it past all of this and we do get into spaceships and travel and explore the universe. And then maybe we all go and somebody pulls up a computer program and then brings everybody that ever lived back to life and we have a huge civilization, like whatever, I don't know. But all I know is like, they will bury me honest, having done everything that I could have done with the means that I had to do it.
I love that. I love that. And it's in line a little bit with kind of bodhisattva vows. If you're familiar with bodhisattva terminology, it's predominantly like a Tibetan Buddhism, kind of like a. It's so the idea is like if you aspire or if you reach enlightenment, so to speak, like and could become like a Buddha style person, human on the earth, the idea of reaching Buddha state is that you would not be reborn when you die, right? You would escape the cycle of birth and death is to become Buddha nature, and right? It's like that's the thing. So when with Gautama the Buddha in the stories, that was part of the story, is that he escaped the cycle of rebirth, so that he taught as long and as much as he could, and because this was it. This was the last time that he was going to be born into this world, and from that teaching, in multiple lineages later, I believe, I don't know the exact details, somebody might correct me, but the Bodhisattva is one that it entertains and reaches a state of enlightenment, of nirvana of some kind, but chooses to continually be reborn, so to do the work to lessen suffering until all suffering is gone. They take the vow to be reborn as many times as it takes to be a servant to others, to awaken. And when I hear you say what you just said to me, I hear that. I hear a feeling of that. I mean, you're not saying multiple lifetimes, you're not saying these things, but I'm hearing this parallel in how you feel, the emotional quality of how you feel towards doing the right thing.
It gives me goosebumps, like everything that you just said, because I feel alive and like real enough to know that the experiences I've had that are indescribable are also very, very real, and I just don't have it in me. It feels anti-love to try to define it really just at all, because I feel like if I go around telling people, check out this transcendent experience I had, and you know what it was? I figured it out. And then I like tell them whatever it was that I figured out. That just feels like the opposite of a journey. It feels like you got to a destination and somehow you're still here and somehow things are still fucked up. And it's like, so long as that's the case, the journey is not over. So did you figure it out? Do you know what it really is? Like, do you fully understand it? No, I don't, because I am a puzzle piece, and I am a very beautiful and important puzzle piece that without me, this story would not be whole, but I am not the story. I take comfort in that, knowing that like I am like, maybe I'm a corner piece, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that, maybe I'm a really big puzzle piece. I don't know. But what I do know is that I am important, but I cannot and will not try to define God for you. Because I just think that is so harmful based on everything I've observed now and going back in history. Like there was almost, which is kind of why, you know, there's this like understanding even with people who aren't Christian that like Jesus was a great person. There's this like open-endedness and just raw compassion about that person that almost said fuck you to being put in a book that told people what to do. That to me was like fucking awesome. I was like, this person is like the leader, is a revolutionist, you know? The rest of it, I don't know. Sure, but you know, I know that people like that existed and exist now, and maybe that's who he is. Maybe he's somebody who continues to come back like through many different people, and they're actually a flawed person that does feel things, you know? Like I've sometimes gotten like, man, who am I to try to help people? Like sometimes my anger about these things gets the best of me, and I'm like, and then I remember some people are just so apathetic, which is worse than being angry, because anger can be a motivator for love if harnessed the right way.
Sure.
You know, but apathy isn't is something that needs to like just go away and needs to be replaced with real emotion, you know?
Well, it's an extreme, right? Like, so extreme anger, extreme motivation is a detriment.
Right.
And extreme apathy is a detriment as well. And so that's the part of the thing that the Buddha outlined was the middle path, the middle way, right? Like it's not, and that's where the middle is constantly changing, context specific,
Key. Yeah.
right? So it's not like believe in this and that's all you have to figure out. It was think for yourself. You have to sort it out. Like this is too far and this is too far. So, but you have to know what those things are to know where that you can't measure to the middle without exploring these things. So each one of us has to explore our anger. Each one of us has to explore our darkness and has to find a way to make friends with the shadow element that would, left unchecked, would go murder somebody, would go, go do these things. I think each person has some element in them around that. And the flip side is, then this is the lesser talked about side, is the do-gooders, right? The do-gooders and this is part and parcel of what's kind of, it's different, in political, because it's all got these different motivations to it. But you see people on the extreme left trying to do extreme good, and they're like trying so hard and putting so many things in place that they actually end up doing a bunch of bad things. It affects the rollout ends up being much like if you were far right.
Yeah.
You get so far.
Like, were you so motivated to stop that person from cutting down the tree that you took the saw out of their hands and hacked their leg off, you know?
Sure.
And so it's like your motivation was originally something that was supposed to like save the planet, and maybe that person is driven mad by their own grief that they like say, oh, one person or all the trees on the planet. And it's like, I get it, like mathematically, fundamentally, intentions, I get it, but like that is fuel then for somebody else who actually does want to cut all the trees down on the planet and like doesn't give a fuck about whatever, to say, see? And it's like, and then here you are back at like square one and nothing got done.
Is this a discussion I was having recently, or I wish it was more of a discussion. It turned into not a discussion, but around cultural appropriation. We don't need to like get too far off in this unless we want to. But the idea was just, I was trying to explain or give some sort of example to this person that like her policing another person in public around the thing wasn't helping, right? Like and it wasn't, and it's okay, you can have these views, it's great, but when you get militant around somebody else's life in the name of leftist freedom, diversity, but then you say, okay, it's over with now, like white men can't say anything anymore, basically, which is also just, is like not equality, right? See, so you're saying it's that's an extremist point of view that I can point to and say, okay, look, here's a good example that when you go so far left that it's a circle and you end up around at the other side. and you end up adopting. And this is like, you look at Hitler, like literally, this is a good example. So Hitler was a vegetarian, was an artist, like to write poetry, and he thought he had, like, he thought in some level he thought he was doing some sort of good, right? Like somewhere along in all that, he thought there was like some sort of God's work or some sort of cosmic thing that he was called to do, and so he did the thing, and he ended, even though he was like not eating meat, like, that's great, good job there, Adolf, you know, like, what are you doing? You didn't way ahead of the curve, man. All the vegetarians of the 90s up till now, like, owe you. You know, you pioneered the fucking way, but you took it too far, bro. You took it way too fucking far. You turned a bunch of people into fucking meat and ashes, and that's like, you lost it, bro. So like, too much methamphetamine, whatever you're up to, I don't know. But you know, and I think that's really the thing that we can look back to. Bless you. Is the fall or the fallacy of extremist points of view oftentimes is that the thing that they're fighting against, and this is the Nietzsche like quote, right? It says, you know, be in battling monsters, be careful that you don't become one yourself. Yeah. Because when you look into the abyss also looks into you.
Yeah. So gosh, that's a great, right? That's a great. Yeah. When you look into the abyss looks into you. It's like, it's so hard, but it's like, you have to look into the abyss in order to know what's wrong, but then you have to remind yourself to look into the light to be able to know what's right. You know, like, you can't, no rhyme intended there, but but yeah, I that's something, you're like hitting the nail on the head about something that like I wrestle with sometimes inside of myself. Like, I know my intentions are in a good place, and it makes me more understanding of, like, I don't know, let's say celebrities, famous people, politicians, like people that have an immense amount of pressure on them. And they put themselves in a lot of those positions. They put that pressure on themselves, but it's also like, oh my gosh, like, I, as a person who wished the world was far less judgmental than it is, am sometimes just like, what the actual fuck? And like, about other things. And then I have to be like, be understanding. And so it's like, it's something where I'm like, okay, if we focus on telling everybody how problematic they are, that's very different than showing them a solution. And so it's obviously not that easy, but
dude, I was going to say something towards that earlier, and I forgot because we're that way when we talk. But like the example part is so important, I think, because like you mentioned, like, trying to explain to somebody your transcendent state that you had experienced, and like that you had figured things out, that felt anti-love in the attempting to even move towards, like, hey, look at me and the thing that I sorted out, and I'm gonna now I'm gonna implement it on you. I'm gonna like, you know, so that's when you see someone that has done a lot of work, and these are like, most of the people that on the planet, I believe, that are in these states, they're not in the limelight for a reason, right? Yeah. Like the lamas that are doing heavy lifting work with people all around the world, the Tibetan lamas that are either in Tibet or in the lineage in America or scattered around the world. That's a very good example, because they do high end work. They really, really do it. And it's a lot of sitting with oneself and then being corrected by somebody that has been doing it a long time. Now, that there are things you have to look for, and, you know, maybe choose a lama or choose a guru, so to speak, very carefully in this life, because you don't want to be led just by anybody, but anyone that you do get involved with ends up becoming a teacher regardless, right? So like of what to or not to do. But I think that the most profound scenarios that I've encountered have been with people that when you kind of try to draw the answer out of them, they just kind of look at you, and they it's like they're presenting. They're like, but this is it. Like this is my answer. If you want to know, just this, the best I can do is show you. I mean, you can just watch how I do it.
Yeah.
What it is I'm up to. How am I responding to these extremes? And when you see someone calm, cool, and collected, and continuing to make choices and to give things that are adding to the knowledge base and the curiosity base and the creativity base of the world and of the human, experience, then you probably found somebody that's in line, that has something, authentic to share, to imbue. And that's why it's like really wonderful when you find somebody like that. It's you feel drawn to be in their presence, because there's an element of being around them that's healing, that's like, they help me see and feel in a way that is not so confrontational, not so like this or that. It's a lot more of, well, yes, and
yeah. Or like categorizations are like certain aspects of your feelings are acceptable and some are not. And it's like being willing to be like, no, all of you is okay. And just even that by itself can sometimes be oftentimes I think can be a very healing thing, which is why like for when I was really, really way far down into my like anxiety and depression, like age 17 to 19, it was like a whole 2 years of just waking up every day in a fog and being like, this again, One of the like best things, and I couldn't pinpoint exactly who or when this happened, but like it was not the cure all in one dose. It was just like something that kind of like started to peel me back, was reminding me that like I don't have to be okay for everybody else, because that just like puts so much pressure on you that takes your focus away from whatever it is that you're going through that you actually like need to face in order to get past it. It's like if you're always shoving it to the side in order to put on a smile from everybody else, that it stays there. And it was that paired with like, you can forgive yourself. You can have regret about things, but you can also learn from those things and forgive yourself for those things, rather than telling yourself that you deserve to be in anguish over these things that you have regrets over or these things that hurt you until you take your last breath, and it's like I know there's so many people that get so trapped. Words are so interesting because sometimes people just don't even know how to utilize language or have that conversation with themselves. They don't even know where to begin. And some people think that language is the only thing that is gonna like get them through and out of things. And both are like those extremes that can kind of trap you. It's like language is a guide. It's not necessarily perfection or truth.
It's a fallible tool, right? It's definitely a tool that is not perfect.
Right.
And there's so much interpretation based on who you are, where you're from, who raised you, what your genetics are, da da da
Oh,
da,
so much.
on and on, right? Yeah, yeah. There's significant. Well, it's like I actually wanted to go back, and I just wanted to say that I remember meeting you, and like our good friend Mary Sweeney.
Yeah.
She brought me out there to Madison to be the judge and stuff out there at what was it called? It's like Madison.
Like Battle of the Bands. It was like a mama thing, Madison
That's it.
Area Music Awards. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and I just I don't know. I mean, I won't go into all the details of how I cried and well, I just did. So
There you go.
I remember feeling something special just emanating off of you, like when we met, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I get to watch her play. That's great. And then you played, and I cried, and I was like, looking over at Mary, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is something beyond what I wasn't, this isn't what I didn't come here to be completely blown away. I came here just to like see some local bands and like judge a thing and then be on my way and not have to think a thing about this necessarily. And then you stopped me in my tracks, and your thing, your existence, your showing up in the world. And I know that it was close to the tail end, I think, of like what this time period that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And of depression and of not feeling in alignment with yourself.
It was like worse than, I'll just say this quick thing. It was like worse than just depression. It was like depersonalization, where I was like, I'm not me. Like I felt like I was in a desert that was on a different planet, and that like my body was dead, but there was a machine hooked up to my brain that was keeping me conscious enough to like feel my suffering, but that I was too weak to be able to do anything. And whenever somebody, say my friend walks into the room and is like, hey, what's up? I felt like they were just like walking onto the monitor, the screen that was the sky of this desert that I was like laying on the, sand and like looking up at. And they're like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh, nothing, I'm fine. But like really in the desert, I'm like choking. And it's just like, it's just horrible, felt so far away. And like, I couldn't even tell you how far away I was. And I couldn't even tell you what I was thinking or feeling, because I felt like whatever was communicating on the surface for me, there was a me that was like real, but also not, that was like trapped on another planet, like dying and suffering, that I couldn't show you, and it wouldn't even make sense if I tried to. And it's like, it was just so dark. And a huge part of that was that I was around people who were also so selfish and insecure, that instead of loving me and being there for me while I was going through that, I honestly was kind of used, because I so badly, like the romantic relationship I was in, so badly wanted that person to like love me, and I loved them. And so I gave like everything that I had to this person, which was foolish. Like I was very young, like, but it was like she just took the attention for herself. Like, and then like, oh yeah, you can keep dying in the desert, And it's like, I don't know exactly what made me say that, but just like, for anybody out there that ever like feels that way, which is like just like another layer, like you're not insane. And that's like, you're not alone, which is something that I feel like will always be a part of like my message, I guess, which is just like don't shit on crazy because anyone could go there. You know?
I don't see, I mean, I don't see you as crazy or
No.
even any of that stuff. I think,
I don't either. I don't either.
I just really, your energetic imprint is what I feel like I witnessed. Like, and I don't,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to, it's almost anti-love for me to try to describe it. Right? Like it's almost like to try to give width and breadth to the thing that I experienced, because it felt like a transcendental state that night. And I couldn't officially put words to it. That's why I cry. That's usually what happens when I'm like, I don't know how to blah.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I gotta go, you know? So like, it's like, I'm going to think about this for a couple years and then we'll start talking again and it'll work out. But like,
that's why I loved like music and like songs like the one I played was me fighting. It was me being like, sure, I'm there, but like this is even more real, you know? And it's like that's I feel just a really happy note for today. Like I am doing so good right now. Like I've been, when I was in LA for like 4 or 5 weeks recently, I cried like every single day I was there because of like something good or something just like real, like whether like whatever you label you want to put on it, it was just so real and I was feeling it so for real what it was, that like I took a walk and like saw a grandmother like run up into the yard and see her grandchildren. I don't know these people, but I was just like, that's beautiful. And it's just like, I just could feel I'm so like alive and awake right now. That like everything around me is like I just feel it vibrating and I just love it, all of it, whatever it is. It's like there are things that disturb me and bother me for sure, but like knowing that there's contrast and that it's like for as dark as things get just as bright, you know? And it's like that keeps me on my toes and keeps me just like humble again. Like I'm want nothing more than to continue to just be sent to my knees and like sob because things are so whatever it is that they are, you know, like the universe is alive and
so are you.
Yeah, and so am I. Like
Yeah.
And so is, you know, it's like
I think Raine, I think that what you're describing now, your empathic feeling, your ability to that you like, again, I feel like when I saw you on stage that night and witnessed your being and being in the same room, I felt like you were 10 miles wide, 10 miles tall, and like just again trying to put words to this does it no service, to be honest. Really, it doesn't. And I felt this way, you know what my gig is. My gig has been artist relations for over a decade. And my job is to, on one element, to just do business and get artists to come in and be a part of whatever I'm doing. Right. So that's one of the things. But the side sliver of that is that I'm a talent scout, so to speak. Right. You know, it's a handful of times in my career in the last 10 years, I've witnessed somebody, and I've seen I have hundreds and hundreds of shows and hundreds of performances, and a lot of them have been amazing for this reason or that reason or blah, blah, blah. Right. But a few of them really like shifted me and into a different type of state of awakeness, a wakefulness that it was larger than the surface content that was available. And yours was one of those. And I think it just takes the right person to step into the room at the right time to be able to see the thing. And I think that because part of what works somehow between you and I is that we're so strangely similar yet so different that I was like, oh, I think I'm that too.
Yeah, you absolutely are. Like,
I don't look like that, but I feel like that looks kind of, and I'm like,
yeah,
how is that? Ooh, it feels good in when I circulate that energy through my system. And I was like, I really didn't know how you and I were going to work together, or if we were going to work together, or if I was ever going to get to do anything or see you again, or I didn't know any of that stuff. It was like this real cosmic like bookmark. I was like, okay, well, Raine Stern is like, she's probably going to rule the world at some point, but I just hope that she remembers me and plays, doesn't send me to jail or do something weird.
No, Chris.
When she's the ruler.
Chris,
yeah.
I loved you immediately. Like when we talked and I could see that same authenticity, like, that like Justin Timberlake song that's like, it's like I'm a mirror. Oh,
yeah.
My mirror staring back at me. Sometimes, and like you were saying, it's like I've met so many people, and I know, it's like in the whatever 2+ decades I've been on this planet, like I have done so much networking, but sometimes, and my partner is one of those people, which is just amazing to have like that, which is part of the reason I'm so good right now. Is like I have my person, and like I'm just not afraid. Like no matter what happens in life, like this is not me saying like we will never have problems or we will never have pain, which is just not true. But
sure.
I just have like a fundamental, like you and me are cut from the same cloth. And like I feel that way about you. I feel that way about her. Like I really only feel that way about like maybe 3 people. And it feels like ancient, and like we're in this together, and there's a reason that I know you, and there's also a reason that I didn't know you at certain times, but I know you now, and like maybe there was a pause or whatever, what have you. Like I met her, then didn't see her for like a whole nother year, and it's like timing. It's like timing is also a factor in all of this. Sure. So voting matters.
Yeah. Thank you, Raine. Thank you. I think, well, another aspect of what I was kind of feeling about you and in what you were describing to me, I think that your innate natural wakefulness as a person, like I remember 10+ years ago, maybe even 20, maybe close to around maybe when you were born. I don't know. Just the idea of indigo children. I don't know if you're familiar with this, right? Being born onto the planet and then being naturally more innately advanced and having certain universal qualities that they got from the get-go, that you didn't have to teach them certain things because they were already hitting the ground running and they were going to be the thing. And if that's a thing, I don't know, but I would categorize you in that place somehow, somewhat, because I think there's a level of you, like you saying that it feels ancient, and I'm like, yeah, like old soul is what I get from you, yet fresh and ancient. New.
Old, but not in a way. I feel like
you said you feel ancient. Is that what you said?
I feel ancient but like spunky. Like my mother, oh God bless the mother that I had. She told me, like crying to me once recently, when you are just like a baby child, She's like, you were like, I needed you. You didn't need me. I needed you because you asked yourself questions at an astonishing age that like I had never asked for myself and didn't even know that I needed to ask myself. And she was like, I love your brothers and they're also like brilliant people. And she was like, but you just like had this, she like, even when you were like 1 years old and like I'm nursing you, she was like, you had this like intense, I'm gazing like into your soul look on your face. And she was like, it was like something I've never seen like with another child. And I remember like asking my mom, I was like not even 10 years old. I think I was like 7. And I was like, why? I was like, why do things like, why do I feel things more than other people? Because I could just tell that I did. I was like, why do I hurt more? And why, and she was like, she looked at me and she was like, you are what it means to be, whether or not you even choose to make art, an artist. She's like, you are, if consciousness and like humanity consciousness is like a building with a bunch of floors and a bunch of rooms on each floor. She's like, you have this beautiful ability to go meet somebody who's stuck on floor 3 in room 302 and meet them where they are and talk to them and shoot back up to floor 9. And, and she's like, she's like, you're so like, empathy is like, she communicated things to me in a way, and she would take her dear time because she's like, really is one of those people that wants to make sure that she doesn't say a lot of words, but the words she's saying are like the right ones. And she said, like, you occupy the whole building, like all the time. And she's like, and it can be overwhelming, but like your life journey is going to be you like getting stronger and figuring out how to like manage that and use it for good. And my parents never told me what like to be an engineer or to be a lawyer or to be a musician or to do any of these things, but they also never told me not to. So I was pretty much going to do this anyways. But my dad told me, he was like, you have this fire inside of you. He was like, that, like, he's like, I can't tell you how many times I witnessed your peers or other people just be like, what on earth is that? That's weird. And they just couldn't extinguish it. And he was like, so I just figured at a certain point, like, I should just not even try. So I actually somebody when I was in high school, like 15, I think is my sophomore year, told me about this term, this idea, indigo child. And they like explained it to me, and they're like, I think you might be one of those people. And I was like, tell me more. I don't even know what that is. So I think that's you saying that now is maybe the second or third time I've heard of that concept, and I've still haven't totally looked into it. I did a little bit. Now I'm just expatiating.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love that your mom and I agree that you inhabit the whole building, like, and then in my experience, and then some. And what I think is beautiful about the the situation with you is I've experienced this type of thing with a few other humans, and I feel like they're only partially aware of their situation, like and they definitely are in the creative zone, and they definitely, you know, but there's like something about it with you that I experienced that is extra self-awareness, on a level that is like, it's this uber curiosity that kind of like envelops in on itself, and you're both simultaneously that 10-mile wide, 10-mile tall, all the throughout the whole building, but also just right here, right now, and like we're just doing this, and that's fine too. You know, like it's the paradox. Like there's an element of that, and my favorite people generally have a little bit of that kind of like this and that simultaneous kind of paradox.
Being in the moment, but like, it's like, where do you want to shoot to? Let's go. I'll jump with you there.
And you feeling we've talked in previous conversations where you've had very clear feelings about your trajectory, right? And I feel similar about your trajectory, and I feel similar about all those things. So I'm just glad to be alive on the planet at the same time as you.
Oh, Chris, like I'm
serious. I'm so serious. And you know, people say that shit about Eddie Van Halen, and yeah, I'm super don't get me wrong, I'm super happy to be on the planet at the same time as Eddie Van Halen and all the other shredders that are out there. But I was just telling my friend Moon Zappa, Frank's daughter, you know, about you the other day. I was like, hey, I'm having this podcast on election day with my favorite person right now, Raine Stern. And she's like, who's this? I go, well, let me do. So I shot off a couple of your videos, and she's like, oh my God, she's great. And I'm like, I know. Don't tell me something I know. Something is going on with my speakers. I don't know what. Oh, there it is. It's back.
Like for a second it was like your SM7B, and then it was like computer audio.
Yeah, no, there was it flashed and it's told me that, and then it came back. That was really weird. I think it's because I moved my desk. I should probably not touch my desk.
Stop touching things, Chris. Ah! Just compliment me, all right?
Yeah, just yeah. So yeah, so more about how amazing you are.
No, please. I that's been like another thing that I want so much for other people, is that it's like there is a difference between like just like gloating and like thinking so big of yourself, and also just being able to like see yourself for who you are and loving that. And I wrote I think like the latest post I made on Instagram was about how we're talking about like you were talking about stillness like way earlier in our conversation, and like that like profound quietude. And I think the thing that I took away from my experience in LA, regardless of like the success that I had right there at that last little moment, was all of the alone time I had in a strange environment, away from my family and away from my friends and supporters, if you will, where all of those, I didn't have to ask for it. Like all of those people like mailed me like letters and called me and checked up on me. And the day of my audition, you sent me pictures of the guitar, which by the way is my new all-time favorite toy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, regardless of how this goes, I get to go home to these people that are going to see me through, good and bad, and totally believe in me and love me. And if this door isn't the one that opens, then I will trust. Like, I will be patient and I will trust that it was because it wasn't supposed to. And if it does, then I will take advantage of that moment and I will do my best. But either way, I get to come back and play my new guitar. And like,
Oh,
and I think it was that positivity. My mom told me earlier that day, she said, remember, you are not there to be judged by some celebrities. She's like, remember why you started this, and the passion and the million conversations that we've had, and all of the times you would knock on my bedroom door and say, I have a new song, I need to show you. And that you would sit there for hours and like tell me about like the lyrics and like what it means and like how like you could your visions about everything. Remember that, because everything is whatever it means for the person doing the thing. So it's like, while this might be the biggest deal, like being judged audition experience for somebody else here, for you, it's about being a voice for the people. Sing past the judges, sing beyond that, sing to the world. Let the love that and healing energy that you want to put in your own albums and your own music and your own leadership, like, do that in this moment. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. But while the opportunity, and this was kind of my own framework from what she said, I told myself, while this opportunity, this moment, I guess, is an opportunity for me, I will be a gift for the opportunity. Like, I will bring love to the table that, while maybe everybody else is bringing their nervousness. And there were also other people there auditioning that saw me like seeing people nervous about their performance and go up to them and be like, what are you nervous about? Could I maybe give you some like honest feedback? Like, I promise I want to help you. And there were so many people that like were in my shoes too, that would then come to me when they were being like, how does this sound? What do you think I should do here? And I would say, it's mostly good. I think you're mostly in your head about this, but maybe your vowel shape with this word is causing it to sound like tonally weird or flat, but like actually if you just thought about it this way, that would fix the problem. And I was helping other people. And I had this one guy came up to me and said, like, Raine, this is a competition. Like, you shouldn't be helping other people. And I said, no. I was like, this is a competition, like, for us with ourselves and for us with, the show. It's not something where if I told him this would be worse if I like jeopardized people's feelings or tried to intimidate people or like just ignored my heart when I saw somebody feeling upset and didn't offer help and compassion. I would probably do a worse performance, because in the back of my head there would be this, you were here for 4 weeks and you were just being a selfish asshole the whole time, and like that would make me feel worse. How am I supposed to channel this love for a performance I'm giving if I'm not living it every day?
This is why
practice makes perfect. practice makes perfect. So it's like, if you want to be seen or observed or set an example a certain way when you're on screen, you better do it off screen too.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it's not authentic, and it won't feel authentic, and maybe like you'll feel so empty inside eventually, and then you'll start having drug abuse problems or whatever. And it's just like, I just want to be so much more aware than that. Like, I would much rather know the truth and be aware and find peace and comfort in knowing that I did the best I could, rather than any alternative. I don't want to just be blindly anything, even if it seems awesome. Like, I can't do that. And I told him that, and he was like, oh, like, like, you're right. And I was like, you could still like give a great performance and move on to the next step, and so could I, and we don't have to be like shitty to anybody else in the process. You don't, like, and honestly, if you get that far, like, do you really deserve it?
Yeah.
Like, like, wouldn't you? I would much rather take the road less traveled, or the road that's longer, or be the turtle in the race rather than the rabbit. But like, have some self-respect at the end of it.
It reminds me of the farther, or is it quicker alone but farther together type of thing, right? Like, so like you can shun everybody else and get out there ahead of the pack quicker if you don't cooperate, right? If it's you calling the shots. But if you learn cooperation, and you learn that community aspect of and having speaking from an honest, heartfelt place to others, then you're growing community. You're growing a thing that is greater than any type of momentary competition, any of this stuff, right? Because that's having the long term. It's a long game involvement in life and in love, and being interested in seeing people find their groove and do the thing that they're here to do.
Yeah.
I love that about you so much. Thank you for sharing that particular story.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
I was crying a little bit thinking about, I was like, yeah, just like, this is yet another reason why we're friends, why we're in each other's lives, is because we agree on that. That's the thing. Thank you for doing that.
Totally. Thank you for this whole conversation. I totally agree with you about like the kind of better together thing, because it's like, I don't want to be the leader in any situation, really. I want to be like a part of a super group, like, and because I know I'm not the only person like me on this planet. I just know I'm not, and I can't wait to like have all of us together, sit down at the table and be like, what are we gonna do? Let's put our heads together. You and me make three, not one. Like, I like to look at loving relationships, any relationship, friendships, whatever, as we are not, when I get married to you, we don't become one. It's like we become larger than life. Like, we become bigger than the two of us. It's like, whenever you and me are in the room, there's also us in the room. And it's like, I just camaraderie and like that celebration of, there's this game that we played that I loved that we played that was like, it was, we all had to, because of COVID-19, like wear masks and stay apart from each other and stuff, but we played this word association game. And I love games. Like, I don't mind a little competitiveness and stuff like that, but my favorite kind of games are like ones where whenever somebody finally gets the answer, everyone feels like, oh my gosh, yes. And the tension release and the relief that comes with it is just like everybody feels like they won. We play this word association game, and I'm sure you've heard of it, maybe even played it, where it's like two people just kick it off and they both go 1, 2, 3, and then they say whatever word. And like I could say cat and you say red. And then it's like, then like we had like 15 people sitting outside all spaced around in a circle, and then the next two people that say got it, like someone, whenever somebody thinks of a word that they associate and they think other people are going to think of as cat and red, it's like you want to figure it out, and it's like, and then it's like cat red, and then maybe somebody thinks calico and somebody else thinks like a type of, like maybe they think about like Caterpillar, the construction company, and you're like, oh, that got further away. But then you think about like construction and calico, and then maybe somebody thinks about, you know what I mean? And like eventually you always do end up, two people go 1, 2, 3, and then they say the same exact word together. And then everyone sitting in the circle goes, yes, you got it. Because more than likely, through, and then you can just start over, and then those two people that won, they pick two words, and then it keeps going, and it's like it's beautiful because it's like anyone can participate. There's no pressure to participate. You can participate when you feel like, you know what I mean? It's like, and maybe every single person said like had a layer in that, and then whenever those last two people figured it out, everyone feels like we did that. And that to me is like a great representation of what I'm after in life as a whole, both personally for me and also like in my career and like philanthropy and stuff like that. It just is not nearly as rewarding when it's like, I did that. You know, it just isn't. It's shallow. And I know it's shallow because I've had moments where it was like I did that, and then I was like, and now what?
It's so what?
And like, so what? Yeah.
No, I love that. That's a good analogy, and that I love hearing about the game too, because I'm as a kid, my dad or stepdads and stuff like would encourage me to get into sports, and I was in soccer for a bit. I'd play a little bit of basketball, baseball, whatnot, but then I just got so sick of the competitive nature of like the other kids, right? Like it was just, you get dirty and nasty about the quality of their, like this dude's super tall, of course he's gonna dunk on me. I can't stop that. You're like, well, and it's like I just saw the worst come out in people when they really did think that it was all them, and it wasn't about the team, even though we were playing team sports. And I just found myself gravitating more and more towards the things that were like fun and like didn't have scores necessarily. Like I loved frisbee, hacky sack, and like playing and listening to music or collecting things, and it was like those are the things that we could do together. Like, let's do a thing together. And then like, maybe I'm better at it than you, or maybe you're better, but that's fine. Like, we're not worried about that. That's not the point here.
That's not the point. Exactly. It's like, I've been in rooms where I was the best musician in the room. And I've also been in rooms where somebody else was the better musician, or like I've been in rooms where somebody was way better at storytelling with their instrument and somebody else was like knew way more music theory, but like both are valuable. It's like, so it's just like it's so besides the point, because it's like, well, maybe the feeling and the song I wrote is my idea, but my bass player is way better at communicating, at like translating my time signature ideas and relating it to a way in my drummer that he goes, oh, okay, got it. And I'm like, you are so important. I'm so glad you're here. And so it's like, I love being a leader that if I tell you, like, we're gonna play this gig and like this is how much I'm gonna pay you, it's like no matter what happens, I keep my word and I pay you that much. And as like the business owner and the leader of the group, like I am willing to take the cuts and willing to take the losses sometimes because like I've got my eye on the prize, which is beyond this one gig that we did, you know? And you know what ends up happening because I do that every time? Sometimes my band, like my bandmates will be like, no, what can we do to help you? And it's like paying, like if I owned a coffee shop, like this is something I've dreamed about, like eventually when I'm older, I kind of just think it'd be so cute to have like a little like bakery / coffee tea shop in like a small progressive town or something like that with my partner, and like get to know all of the familiars and stuff like, and like all of the regular people and where was I going with this? What was I saying?
You're paying the
Oh yes,
the band well, and how it comes back.
right. And it's like, and if I paid my employees a livable wage, I don't even have to tell them to do good work.
They will.
They will.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you are good to people, you will see it in response. And if you are like, and some people, you know, no matter how much good you put into them, like you have to be willing to accept that sometimes they can't give it back to you. And it's not necessarily because they suck and you're awesome, which is a dangerous road to go down, but maybe because they are not in a good place.
Right.
And they couldn't, and like, I worked with an engineer, an audio engineer who had a cocaine addiction and was an alcoholic. And he would say, yeah, I'll for sure get this done by this date. And sometimes he absolutely would not, and sometimes he would, but it was like clearly not finished, you know? And I gave him too many chances, but I also made myself so impatient towards the end of it, so frustrated by bottling up my emotions and being like, let me just be endlessly compassionate to you until I can't. And it was like, and then I just like had this one day where I was just like, I am so sick of you. And I didn't mean to, but my frustration got the best of me, and I like took it out on him in a way that was almost like I was attacking like his core, you know? And we're good now. I've since apologized to him and stuff, and I had to accept that I couldn't like fix him. And that it wasn't my place. And that I had to be like strong, and like there was a way for me to end our business relationship and be firm and be respectful and kind and wish him well and still give him confidence, but also make him aware of what he's like lacking. Or, you know, I could still tell him like, you are frustrating to work with because of XYZ. I do believe in your ability to get better though, but right now I need to look out for number one, and I just really need to get this project done. And I based on what I've observed, I don't think that you're going to do it. I don't hate you. No thanks though, you know? And like, I could have done it that way. And instead I tried to like almost be his best friend when he was being shitty. And it's like one of those things where I've thought like I'm being the bigger person all the time. That's you know, but that was unhealthy.
Yeah, it's unhealthy. It's super unhealthy, and that's like speaking to the you know, like learn like thank you, guy, that helped me understand where I need to work on my boundaries.
Yeah,
Right. Like,
exactly.
thank you, dude. Because like without this experience and without me exploring, thinking that I could help you and change you through this kind of pseudo kindness, which I
Right.
really wasn't feeling the actual kindness towards you. I was feeling
Exactly.
frustration and anger towards you for
Yeah.
not, making good on your word. In turn, and then you build up a checklist of resentment. And,
Mhm.
and then so you're holding this resentment in your heart while you're speaking these flowery statements.
Yep. No.
Hey, so like you got that on Thursday, right? Because we're good, right? And meanwhile, you're like, motherfucking God, I'm gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
do the thing, right? And so, but so we can't hide that energetic quality. I think that's what you're kind of in a way like highlighting, and then
You have to
in
be
turn,
real.
yeah,
You have to be real and still like and like maturity is not necessarily just like it is not just like being nice to people all the time. Sometimes maturity is being like super direct, but like there's still a way to do it that I have to think to myself, man, I don't know necessarily how this person's going to react, but how do I want to, what should I do and say? How should I present this information in a way that I will not regret or question later? And I think if you do that, most of the time you can handle things with grace or like with a strength that you might have not thought you could muster up, you know?
sure. Hey, do you mind if we've been going for a while? Do you mind if we talk a little bit about music? And
Yes, please. I was just thinking that.
I was just like, I have to ask you, tell me about your history with guitar picks. Like, do you remember what your first couple of guitar picks were? And have they changed? And what do you play now?
Um, I remember just like, well, when I started playing, I was like 11. So I was just like, it's a guitar pick. I I think the first guitar pick that I can really remember like having one of them on me all the time was those like little red Guitar Center guitar picks,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And like I know that I had other guitar picks and had played with other ones first, but like that was only like, I'm a little kid and I'm at somebody's house and there's a guitar sitting in the corner and I pick up something and start playing it. So there's no real recollection there. But now I love those. I know that they're like color coordinated. Those Dunlop, they're like orange Dunlop Tortex picks that I think it's like 0.81 millimeters or something like that.
If it's orange, it's a 0.60.
Oh, 0.60.
Like
Okay.
this is a flow version of it.
Oh yeah.
So it's slightly different shape.
Okay.
You probably
Okay,
play a
yeah.
standard version of that, I assume.
I like them when they kind of feel like that almost like soft but grippy texture.
That powdery kind of like.
Yeah, I like that so much.
Too.
So
it's my favorite.
Definitely.
And why do you play such a thin pick? What does it do for you?
I feel like the way I hold a pick is not, I actually tend to play I'll like rotate picks depending on like what I'm trying to do. So like I'll rotate a pick in my thumb and hold it like more like on like the like one of the round edges like on the or like on the side or one of the shoulders on the side. And I wish this is something I had thought about more analytically or like observed myself doing, because I feel like I also really like picks that have the grip at the top. but it does limit my ability to like rotate it and use other parts of the pick.
Sure.
I have like this steel gray like Dunlop pick that has that grip at the top.
Like a max grip, probably like a
yeah.
nylon max grip.
Yeah, and I here's the thing, I feel like .60 is thinner than what I actually play with.
The green ones are .88 and the
Yeah.
yellow ones are .73. So maybe you use, but if it's orange, generally
it is 0.60 for sure.
Yeah, because all their orange ones are .60.
Maybe honestly, maybe it's the yellow ones that I like the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. .73 is like .73 and .88 are like the most popular gauges across the board.
I feel like it's the yellow one that I like, and I think maybe the orange pick I'm thinking of is not actually a Dunlop pick, but it's the one that I used for my audition actually recently.
Oh.
I have so many picks laying around all the time, and so much of the time I don't even pay that much attention. I just like pick it up and I go, this one.
Well, we should figure out what gauge it is that is ideal, or what two gauges. Maybe there's two, right?
Yeah.
You're like, sometimes I really need this one, and sometimes I really need this one. And
Right.
then we'll put your name on some, and then you'll always know. Oh, those are my picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I can figure. I don't have any on my desk right now. I actually, last night I actually like kind of cleaned this room up a little bit, because it was just like everything was just like pulled apart. So I had taken some things with me and like left other things like just plugged in or packed up or whatever. Finally set it back up. I'm going to real quick turn this on. Bear with me one moment.
No problem.
I have this lamp that I have to turn 6 times because it is this weird light bulb. It's cool, but it like the first setting you click it twice and then it like swells and goes back down. It's like really nice for like kind of chilling, meditating. And I have another one that like flickers like fire, and that's the second setting. But then the third setting is the one that you would think would be the first setting, which is just on. So
amazing. Quirky.
I also pulled my Parker P42 guitar out because I was thinking about doing like a little comparison video where I had like I would do middle position and like tone all the way up, and then just do like 5 seconds of playing like the exact same riff with my amp like on the same settings, like comparing that to like my Tele and my Strat, and then the new Kiesel, which by the way, what like model exactly is this?
It's the Theos.
The Theos. Okay. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, Theos. Do you have it there?
I do.
You want to show us real quick here?
Yes. I am in love with this thing.
Oh my god.
It is
so good.
It's so gorgeous. Let me open up my window here a little bit more. It's
oh yeah. Some really nice figuring on that top.
It's so beautiful. And the back is also stunning. It's just, I love this like reddish brown on the back of the neck here. And then that super dark, like almost black ebony.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and then the headstock has some of that same like marbling of the burls.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful.
Came out really good.
And the best part is that it sounds like just as good, if not like it, like as it looks, like you're like, wow, that's beautiful. It sounds just as beautiful too. I love how different every like pickup on this is. Like it almost sounds like a completely different guitar depending on like I know that like you could argue that for a lot of the guitars, but like my Strat sounds like a Strat like no matter which position you're in.
Right.
This guitar almost like sounds like when you have it all the way in this position, it's almost like a bright twangy Telecaster, like if I was like in like a country band and I was like taking a solo and I like swoosh it all the way down there and it just like but it sounds like authentically like that, which is so cool. I love it.
I love hearing that. That's great.
Like this turned out better than I like actually thought it was going to.
Did we put gold frets on that too?
Yeah, Evo gold.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And do we get to talk about what your audition was, or do we need to wait about saying anything about that?
We can sort of skirt around it, or this could be something that you like we could talk about and then you like cut out and save for later.
No, we'll just have another pod later when you can say what that was, and we're not talking about it now. But congratulations on the amazing thing that we're not going to talk about.
I know, right?
I'm so stoked.
When the time comes, I'll tell you guys everything that I possibly can without breaking my confidentiality agreement.
Don't break any of the rules. We don't mess anything up. But what a fantastic opportunity! What a fantastic bit of feedback that you got. And I'm just so looking forward to how that unfolds. And I'm curious. I'm so mostly more than anything excited that you'll get to drop an album post that scenario one way or another, because the demos that you've been sending me through the roof. I'm so excited, so creative, and such a wide breadth of inspirations and different elements that you're bringing together. Like you're an interesting, as we all are, kind of like this middle spot between heaven and earth, the dark and the light, right? Like if we're doing it right, that we get to utilize and pull together the elements of both sides to do this creative thing. And it's just like we've been saying on this whole 2 hours that we've been talking, you're amazing, Raine, and you've got like such a great future ahead of you and a great career and all this stuff. But legitimately the music that I have heard so far, and it's just in its demo form, is so exciting and so much fun. I can't wait to see with a little bit more time and a little bit more money backing and how it finishes out.
I can't wait. Like this first album is going to be something that can be put out pretty soon. Soon after I'm done with this project, obviously. But there's some other things that I'm like, okay, let me use this first album because it's electric guitar, bass, drums, vocals primarily. And there's some like organ and some horns and stuff on there. But some of my other ideas involve like electronic elements, like moving forward, and are going to require like strings and like choirs and things like that like in order for me to get to translate the energy that I am looking to translate in those songs that I'm intending to, I really need them to be done for real. And so that's like the next chapter, but the ideas are there and you've heard some of them, and I can send you even some more, but everybody will just have to take your word for it for now because nobody really knows what's going on behind the scenes. Like I've got 3 albums, concept, some music videos, some album art, the demos, the lyrics, basically done. And like some singles as well, like to sandwich kind of in between and stuff.
Sure.
And what's so crazy about it is that it's like I have all of this material for like the next like 5 years, and I'm just kind of sitting on it right now.
No, it's like awkward and awesome all at the same time. I'm like,
I know. I know.
Look,
Sometimes I feel like constipated, like I'm like shaking about it.
like can I put something out? Yeah, can I just put like well, okay, hold on a little bit longer. This is good things happening. I just need to wait.
This is a really awesome opportunity that's like hilarious, that like I can't post new music and I also can't tell you what's going on right now.
Right.
And so I'm just like in this like weird, I just gotta be patient for a little longer. So
wow, the anticipation will get everybody stoked. And we're gonna be, following you on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter or wherever you're at. Are you a Twitter person too?
I am. I really want to see Twitter, but like pretty much all social media platforms, but like Twitter, I feel like is this. It's not like, things are honestly what you make of them. Like if you're looking for shit, you'll get shit. If you're looking for positivity, you'll find positivity. But like I feel like Twitter is this like, what's the latest joke? Let's circulate it until we run it to death. Like, what's the latest meme? Let's circulate it until we run it to death. Like it's just kind of like, it's like Twitter's got like a formula. And I sometimes think to myself, could I go on Twitter and like check out what's going on? And then pretty much every single time I open it, I'm like, that's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. It's like, or I could like take my dog on a walk.
Yeah, I kind of skip Twitter.
I just like, I think of like clever, witty, like one-off jokes or sentences, or like a little candy packaged piece of like wisdom to kind of like just throw out like on a platform like Twitter would be perfect for all the time. But most of the time I end up like sharing it with a real person, and then I kind of like quench my thirst.
Right, you get the once and you're like, I don't need to post it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
no, I get it. Well, the last thing I'll ask you, and then we'll wrap it up, is I'm curious about what you personally have been listening to, or what artist are you like excited about? It maybe there's a few that nobody really knows too much about that you know about, or maybe it's some big name artist or album that you recently are listening to and want people to check out.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few things. I'm sure you've probably heard of this artist, and if you haven't, you're gonna for sure love them. I just love the brilliance that is Hiatus Coyote's discography.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God.
like, I kind of need I say more. Like, you should just if you have not, Hiatus Coyote, Hiatus, next word, Kaiyote, I believe.
Yep.
Even if you get one of those, like, spelled a little bit wrong, as long as you get most of it, you'll find them. And just pick a song and start. Just like
one of my favorite bands in the last few years, hands down.
Yeah, easy. They're amazing. Napalm, the lead singer, and guitar player, who I think writes most of their stuff, or at least comes up with like the initial ideas. Like, the whole band's amazing. She is, without a doubt, one of the musical geniuses of our time.
Agreed. She's great.
For sure. I also like this artist that the first song I ever heard by this person, I was not sure if this person was male or female, and I like have like a sweet there's a sweet spot for in my heart for people where I'm kind of like, your energy and like the music you're making and the things you're saying, and also like the timbre quality of your voice, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, and I love that. I wonder
if I can guess who this is. I'm guessing already in my head.
I will shriek if you figure it out.
Are we talking about Rye?
No, but that is also a great example too. I'm talking about this artist called The Japanese House.
Oh.
Yeah, I will send you the first song I ever heard was Saw You in a Dream. And I think my favorite song is called Maybe You're the Reason. I don't know. Either way, I don't really feel like this artist is, at least thus far, I have found like anything like politically or socially or anything like that where I'm like super like inspired in that way. But the emotional quality of these kind of personal love relationship stories and like the uniqueness of it's like this person's like right on the money when it comes to where we're at now with kind of like indie pop rock electronic music kind of, but they're also definitely recognizable with their how they like vocally treat, like I don't know exactly what plugins and stuff this person is using, but they've got this like synthy cool stacked quality, kind of like Bon Iver, but different. I don't know, you'll just have to check it out. The Japanese House. Wow. And I did find out that it is a woman, but she has just like she doesn't sing very high, and she kind of has like, she's clearly an alto, like a true alto. Like most women who can sing kind of low are not like true altos, where like they're almost basically a tenor, you know what I mean? Like she's got that kind of thing. She can sing a few notes lower than me for sure. I also have been, and maybe these artists aren't new, but I've been remembering how much I love Incubus. And like I just love like the difference between like they've got a song like Deep Inside that's like funky and rock and kind of like it's almost like Oingo Boingo-ish in how it's kind of just like we're gonna just like, I love that Incubus kind of like bounces around almost like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like from one part of the song to another, like with totally different energy, and they do it like fast and with like boldness. They're just like, we're just gonna like like we're gonna like rock out and like scream at you with like these like chunky like genty metal chords, and then we're just gonna like go back to like jazz and deep inside, and it's just like, and then they're like, it's brilliant. I love that.
You're speaking to the early part of their catalog.
I am. I'm talking about like their early stuff, and I love all of their stuff. Like every single album has something good on it. But I love that experimentalness about like first albums a lot of the time. I actually feel like I'm getting more simultaneously like sharpened and fine-tuned, but also like the more I learn, the more I'm like, oh, there's more tools in my box now, and I can be more experimental a lot of it. And so I feel like my stuff is getting like more expansive, and also the messages I'm trying to communicate are, I feel like, coming through a lot more clearly as I keep writing. but I feel like we can all agree as music listeners and appreciators that there is something oftentimes about that first album that's just like, it's got this like fresh energy, and maybe it's not super refined, but like that's kind of partly why we love it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and they say that, you know, you have your whole life to make the first record, and then usually about a year or two to make the second one. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and oftentimes, and it's not always, you know, everything's situation is different, but like that oftentimes that when you can't get away from, like, I think about it, for Pearl Jam 10 is a good example, I think, for me. Like, it's like that band had that, a lot of that music together, and then they kind of got Eddie Vedder, and they put out this record. And then it was like, then they're this huge band all of a sudden in the 90s, they're part of a wave, and they're expected to put out a second album in the next few years. So here we are a few years later, and they hadn't even been a band with that vocalist long enough to really like see how it would be to have that person in the band. And then now, then the rest of the catalog is them being a band with that particular singer.
Yeah.
And it sounds a few degrees different. It's not, nothing has ever equaled that first record, right?
Because it's like, this is like what I meant a little bit when I was saying, when I'm in a relationship with somebody, like you and me make us. And it's like every single, it's like when you have 4 people in a room, you're creating this like 5th energy. And if you take one of those people out and you add somebody else in, then that energy is a combination of those first 3 original people, but there's something else, and it's uniquely that 5th energy. And it's like, that's what, like, when you are actually collaborating between all of the members, like that's what ends up happening. It's like, you can have, it will be like somewhat similar, but like actually taking the Red Hot Chili Peppers, for example, they're a great example of this. How many different guitarists have they had? And that has really intensely shaped what they ended up putting out.
It's true.
Another, I wanted to just like quickly call out a few more things. Like, I've really have been loving the like transcending like energy and like group like vibrance of gospel music lately. There's some songs that I'm just like, oh, this just has that thing. This has that, like, I get why, if all I knew about certain religions like was their like prayer music, when it's just like really, when it's really being like channeled, like that love is really being channeled by the right person, right? Because like I would be like, oh my God, I believe you. Like I get it. Also, I've really been getting into like appreciating and kind of studying the difference between like really early prog rock and like more like recent prog rock. Like I will always be one of my favorite bands.
Oh, so good.
Like forever. They're brilliant. I don't even get me started. Like,
well, what would be a modern example of prog that you would be on the other end of that for you?
Instrumentally, I really love Polyphia. They just have, like, for me, I think like their melodies are brilliant. I love that. I've also only recently which is maybe something that would like surprise you, but only recently like actually started to kind of like get into Dream Theater and stuff like that, and other groups like that, where like I'm actually, I feel like if you're gonna listen to an artist, like don't listen to one song and be like, that was cool. Like you know what I mean? Like listen to a whole album, listen to multiple albums and stuff. I don't know exactly what you would like there are some of these bands where like depending on the album and the time period and the song, like the genre that you would put them in is a little different. So I don't know exactly what you would
Dream
categorize
Theater?
Dream Theater. Yeah.
Well, I think they're modern prog rock metal.
Yeah.
I had a heyday with them for sure. I mean, I was around like in finishing high school roughly when the first record, when the first real record with James LaBrie came out, which was Images and Words. And then I went and saw them on the Awake tour in San Francisco. And I love that era they still had Kevin Moore on keyboards. And it's like, not that the band hasn't put out good stuff since Kevin left or whatever, but there's always something good on every record, it seems like. But I just love the sound and the vibe. I fell in love with that era. And then, some bands continue to almost, how do I say this without being a jerk? Some I'll say it and then I'll qualify it. Some bands just stick around too long.
Yeah.
And they create a thing, and then even with a band that is widely creative as Dream Theater can be, and mishmashes a thing that in breaking all the rules, they create a new formula for breaking rules, and then you kind of expect them to continue to break the rules in a similar way over and over again. And then after a while, you're like, oh, well, it's kind of predictable. The unpredictability is predictable now.
Yeah, but it's almost like in its own way, it's almost like kind of that thing of like when the left goes way too far, they kind of end up circling back over to the right. And you're,
oh my God.
Like,
yes. Yeah, it's kind of that.
Another group that I have loved for multiple years and will never not love, that I would feel more as like progressive metal, is Tesseract.
Ooh,
like
yeah.
They're just, I am in love with the singer.
Oh, so good.
Oh my God. I think that's one of those things where people say things like, the reason like pop music is so great is because the beat is just so predictable. And I'm just like, don't you just love a good time signature change though? Like, come on.
You need a surprise every now and again, right? Like, and I think that's what you and part of what you and I seem to be attracted to is, yeah, I want a certain amount of predictability. I definitely like hooks. I'm not like hook opposed, but I like to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
That's why, like a good bridge, even if it's just a pop song, a good bridge does that thing for you, right?
Oh, speaking of pop music and bridges, that is something that irks me all the time. I cannot tell you the number of times that like the bridge is just the chorus, like minus the beat, or like they just take like the one hook phrase that's like the title of the song, and then they'll just like sing it here, and then they'll sing it the third up, and then they'll sing it the fifth up, and then they'll have like a whistle note go over it, and then back to the chorus. And I'm like, that's not a bridge. That's not a bridge.
It's a break.
It's a breakdown, but it's like you can't go from the chorus to a modified version of the chorus back to a double chorus and then finish the song out. Like, oh, too much of the same thing. It's like, how much, like, if you're gonna make it's just like taking a stuffed Oreo to just a gross level, to like a level that we can all agree is not edible anymore. It's just like, you can't, like, the Oreo is not supposed to be like this.
No,
and that's what a lot of modern like pop music is just like. That's why like there are some pop songs that are like especially like take Stevie Wonder, for example. That's like, he makes pop music a lot of the time, but it's like timeless and respectable. And I'm just like, where is the effort? In a lot of music nowadays. It's like, this is just,
well, I know where it's at. Raine, I'm going to stop you. I know where it's at. I'm looking at it right there. Yeah. So I say that because, I have this conversation with a lot of people too. and it comes up, it cycles around every so often. There's usually one or two people in my feed that are like, man, music today, there's just so much trash. It's crap. There's not even good music coming out. And I'm just like, my mind starts exploding. Like, you're not paying attention. You're not looking, and you're not paying attention to the fact that music has been multiplying exponentially year after year after year, after moment after moment after moment. Every 5 seconds, there's 30,000 new things uploaded to the freaking cloud.
Yeah.
And if you
Looking
don't know
for
how
it.
to look,
Yeah.
you know, and how you look has changed over the years. You used to be able to just go to the record store and do your kind of best guesstimate. Maybe you got to listen to a CD, preview it on headphones before you left Tower Records or whatever. But I mean, now we're in a place where you can listen to everything without buying it. Everything. And
there's no way, you cannot say nothing is good anymore. That's just like, to me, like, even if you listened to music for 5 years and you didn't find anything that you deemed good, you would just have to know that that was still not true, because just sheer numbers. Like, I think those people just don't know what they're saying, which is fine.
And that also shows that they're tuned into the mainstream pretty much only. Right. And what's being fed to them. So they go, oh, well, what's being fed to me sucks. Well, of course, it's always basically sucked for the most part. Okay. Even
in one way or another. Yeah. Kind of, like,
even stuff that we revere as like good now, back when it first came out, it was grinded into our brains, and we didn't like it then necessarily.
Like, what cheesy nonsense is this?
Right.
Can I tell you how many like 80s rock love songs that people are like classics that like are so cheesy?
Oh, they're so bad. Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I only like them out of nostalgia because I was there for a lot of them. I'm like, I remember that shit. I was doing a slow dance in 7th grade and we did the thing and I got embarrassed and you know, but but I think that to kind of wrap that point up is that, again, context, right? And contrast. So yay. Okay. So the sea of music is full of a lot of repetitive, like not real authentic good effort music necessarily. It's a cheap shot. Like, can we get something on the charts? And if we say the chorus enough in a mumble rap way that people can understand, like, maybe we'll catch some ground or something for 5 minutes, make a couple bucks, and then we try to make another one, right? So there's a lot of that, and that is the truth. But the good news is that there's people like yourself and a lot of others that are still always refining their craft, always doing their thing, and then the time comes and they put out a record, and you're like, okay, this is why we're still alive, is because these people are actually thinking about and holding the craft of songwriting and the artistic side of things really close, and like they care about it. So
definitely, it's still very much so real. And like, oh my gosh, we should, next time we talk, we should like talk about some new music stuff too, because I know that there's some things that I've heard recently that I've like put in a playlist, and I just don't remember exactly where it is or what it's called, because it was like one of those like one-off things where like I heard it and I grabbed it real quick before I forgot, you know, and I was just like, okay, cool. And I'll try to figure out what they are, because there's some stuff that's come out that's just like, sometimes there's like almost these like, you know, almost like a one-hit wonder, except for nobody knows about these people. They just like put like one piece of art out that they were like, this is my tragedy, or this is like something cool I made with my friends. And like, maybe I don't really, something that's really interesting about this era is that there are people that are like artists that are like, I'm a musician, this is my life's work. And another interesting thing about our technology and kind of the easiness of it now is that you're getting some like one-off little things by just everyday people that are just like, that just go to show you that like we're all this, and some of us convey it better or have more of it to show, but everybody loves music for a reason, you know? And so there's some people that are like They're like, I made this one thing and like there's something to, and maybe they're like, but I work at Best Buy and I'm cool with my life. And like,
Right.
that's like a whole nother conversation, you know?
Yeah, that is really cool. And we should wrap it up because this is I'm also getting really hungry. But
Yeah, me too.
but I will say, and we could maybe this is a part of a future conversation, but like I was chatting with a friend around song. Sometimes you come across a song that is like I mean, it's weird. I don't necessarily go looking for fault in other people's work anyway. I just disregard it, right? But like something pops out and I'm like, I can't handle how perfect that is. That is the song. It's got the chorus, it's got the beat, it's got the right vocals, and the motherfucker played a dope solo on a pop song with these cool there's these gang vocal thing. And I'm actually speaking to a song right now. It's like this Leon Bridges.
Yeah.
Right. So
Which
his song Bad News.
I will look it up because
Holy shit. Like it's not a brand new song. It's been out for years now, but
sometimes I'm horrible with song. Like I might actually know the song and
I'll just send you a link to it, but it's just like it messes me up and I use it in like playlists because it's if I can remember the chorus, or like it's I think it's like some say I was born to lose, but I made a good thing out of bad news. And I'm just like and it's a dancey pop song with these cool little once you tune into like the background vocals that chime in every once in a while, and then and the solo. It's such a wonderful guitar solo in this dancey pop song. I'm like, I can't handle. I hear that song and I'm like, it's so good. It's not even necessarily like his.
It's timeless.
Yeah, it feels like a timeless thing.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's also interesting and unique because it's not his primary vibe. It's like not. He probably wrote it with somebody else that, like, hey, let's try this on the kind of like a uptick in the dancey beat thing, and he's like, yeah, cool, let's do it, And so, I don't even know how it came about, but I'm like, we should have another discussion, and maybe we should put together a playlist of songs that we feel that are perfect, impenetrable.
And I want to next time we talk, like, have some things to ask you too.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. We should wrap this up. I'm like getting to the point where I'm like, I gotta pee, man.
No, dude, I gotta go. My back hurts. I'm hungry. My dog needs a walk, like the whole thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this has been such a blessing as always. I really enjoy talking to you.
Same. Thank you, Raine. Thank you for all the things. And I hope you have the best day. Please go out into the world and love the people the way you do.
I'm gonna go vote.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
do that.
I have like pretty much you, and then I'm gonna go vote. Then I'll sit down and do some writing. So
sounds great.
Bye.
Bye, Raine.